Hey guys, how are ya? So in this video I'm gonna tell you how I got prepared for the interviews with the agencies and company. Remember you all, my position is youth staff, so I'm gonna tell you specific about this one, okay? So first of all, I watched a lot of videos on YouTube, I searched posts on Facebook groups about the interview. Sometimes some people share the questions that were asked during the interview. So that was very helpful and I did a lot of notes. First, I did for the ESMBBR, Brazilian agency. So I found out that they usually would ask something like my experience with kids. Actually, all the agencies will ask you that, the experience with kids, the age group, study your CV, because usually that's the information that they're gonna ask you. They probably would ask me to talk about myself and how I would handle living away from my family for 6 months. So that's what I found about ESMBR. About Infinity, they probably would ask me why did I apply for this position, or why do I want to work on board of a cruise ship. Again, these questions are usually the most common between other agencies as well. Also, I found out that Infinity probably could ask something about the most challenging thing that happened in my professional life, or my weakness, my qualities, or sometimes the agencies can ask something like, what would you do if a kid is doing this and something happened to another kid or something like that. So get prepared for these things, and also things like create a game for a kid, or like if there's 10 kids, what games would you do with them. Then I did some notes about the interview that I had with Valemar for MSC, that I would need 2 reference letters, and that the interview with MFC would be in 2 or 3 weeks. If I had any questions, I could contact them, and they also said me that a good day to departure, a good month would be July. With Valemar, a Maria Clara, she asked me what I would do if a parent would be late to pick up the kid. What would I do if this would happen 3 times, for example? What I would do? What games I would do for kids that does not speak English. And she also asked me how I would handle 2 kids fighting for like a pencil or something, and there's a lot of kids at the same time in the room, like 50 kids, but 2 are fighting. How I would handle all of the situation. So that's what I said. Sometimes they can ask you something like this and you need to get prepared for answer. So have something in mind before you start the interviews. I have the interview with Portside. The interview was with Patricia, and she asked me why I wanted to work in a cruise ship. Something like, how do I imagine myself in 3 years? Like what I would be doing in 3 years. The age of kids that I took care as an au pair, how much I expect to receive in a company, the salary. And she asked me to describe my experiences as a teacher. And she said that a person named Luis would contact me about the answer, what would be the next steps, okay? My interview with ESMBR, again, a Brazilian agency, they mentioned about the tattoos. They said that tattoos needs to be smaller than a hand. So I showed my tattoos. I have this one, I have one in my arm. They said that would be fine. They don't really like a tattoos like gigantic things on the arm or something like that. So if you have that, unfortunately they will not accept you. I mentioned about Disney, and Louise said me that to work on Disney you need to have experience with a big group of kids at the same time, like 50 kids or 30 kids. And I had that experience, but I was like, you know what, I will not convince him. I know, but if Disney cannot accept me, because he clearly said I would not be accepted, I gave up at the same time. I did not try. And also I did not want Disney because that's a lot of work. It's the company that have most of the kids. He had recommended if I want to go to Disney, I could start in any other company and the future try, but I don't think I will ever try. Anyways, he also asked me my experience, what games I could do with kids, the age, the groups of kids that I took care as an au pair again, and the maximum number of kids that I already worked with. This was with ESMBR. The interview with Carnival was actually pretty fun, and that's how the Carnival cruise line is known for. I have no regrets starting my cruise ship career. with Carnival because they are great in many ways. The interview was actually very different than the others. It was an interview in group. It was me and two other people, and we played a game where we had to say one truth and two lies about us. So it was very different, and I really like it. I was approved right away when she sent me the answer 30 minutes later. For Infinity and the other agencies was actually in the same day as well, or next day. The first interview that I had was with Castaway, and that's the agency that I chose. Then I did some other notes about the interviews with Carnival. Carnival pays the uniform. You just need to buy blue shoes for youth staff. That's the requirement. I also put some notes like they pay the visa. We need to do the STCW on board. My interview with MSC, the ages that I worked with during au pair program, the games that I use it to do with kids, or I would do it. She asked me when I could do the patrol. How I would handle these questions actually really good. How I would handle parents complaining. I guess this happened a lot during this work. And also she asked me the age that I like to work with. I think this is really cool because usually the companies have the kids divided by ages, and I think this is important because then they can put you in an age group that you feel comfortable with. Selection partners, I was asked to tell about my experience with kids, and that's the only note that I have. And the last interview was with Princess Cruise Line. Was a really good interview. I guess was Roberto, the person that did the interview. He asked me the ages that I had experience with, how many kids I worked at the same time, how many kids in a room. Why did I choose a princess? If I already worked on board of a cruise ship. And he also explained some things about the cruise ship, which I already know, like you're going to share the cabin with one more person, you're gonna work 7 days a week, or in the schedule for youth staff. That's very important to share with you guys. For youth staff, we have a schedule, so it does not mean that we need to do games with kids all the time. We just need to follow the schedule. We are also free to do games if we want, but it's not a requirement. And also he asked me for my ability to go. And that's it. I think I mentioned all the companies and agencies that I did interviews with. Thank you guys for watching, and I see you in the next video.